Hi, I'm Baldur Brönnimann, and this is the Conducting Coaching podcast, where we talk about conducting from the inside. First of all, after last week's episode, there were quite a few questions around. So I thought I'd do a small question and answer session on the whole career issue on Zoom for the subscribers of the Conducting Coaching newsletter. This will be happening Wednesday, the 27th of November, between 6 and 6:40 p.m. Central European Time via Zoom. Everybody can join that session too by subscribing to the Conducting Coaching newsletter either on our Instagram account or on www.baldur.info/conducting coaching. Last week we looked at the first part of what you can do for your conducting careers when you're over 35. Setting realistic goals, analyzing your present situation, asking yourselves the relevant questions and so on. And we finished up with saying that you're better off concentrating your energies on things you can actually influence. Now, taking that cue, today we're talking about ways of getting where you want to be. Careers are never exact science because they involve many factors you can't influence. But following on from what we said last week, we'll focus on what you can do and what options are there for you. Last week, we also said that major international agents or organizations won't have a look at you if they have never heard of you at a certain age. So that means you'll have to do some of the agent's work by yourselves. You'll need a clear profile and a narrative that makes you stand out and that stays in people's minds. Now, I'll make just a few examples here of people who created a profile for themselves and then got into the international scene. Marin Alsop, for example, was from the beginning of her career active as a campaigner for the recognition of female conductors. This combined with her own narrative of being rejected again and again and having to fight in order to be taken seriously as a woman on the podium, gave her a profile that is still associated with her. And look at her career now. She's a reference for many female conductors and more generally for conductors that had to fight in order to have a place in the music business. Another one is John Wilson. John came to prominence through his work with film scores and through the orchestra he founded by himself. He started as a young kid and worked in his community circles in northern England, very far away from the limelights of professional music making. Now he has a busy career as a conductor, combining film and light music with a standard symphonic repertoire, because he found a niche in the music business that he really cared about and that he could exploit. There are many other examples of conductors who came to prominence later on and through projects they started. Maybe another one is Nick Collin, who is now the principal conductor of the Finnish Radio Orchestra in Helsinki and came through prominence through his project with the Aurora Chamber Orchestra. Studying careers of conductors who were in a similar situation than you is really useful. People who started later or came to conducting from another side. Think about the conductors you know and think what sort of narratives you associate with them. Then think what you have that is unique and what makes you stand out. This might be a musical project that combines music making with social impact. It might be exploring new concert formats, new repertoire, or anything that stands out from the multitude of similar orchestras. A project that illustrates this point is the Dream Orchestra in Sweden. Their founder, Ron Davis Alvarez, came from a really poor neighborhood in Caracas and set up his orchestra for immigrant kids in Stockholm in 2015. The orchestra has grown to a significant social project, and this year Ron was included in the 5 CNN Heroes of the Year. Or Tyrone Clinton Jr. and his Unsung Collective in Harlem, which is another great example. Narratives can be many things. Commissioning repertoire, playing in unusual places, having different working methods and so on. Just think about the great classical composers, Beethoven, Mozart, Bruckner, Mahler, etc. They themselves have strong narratives attached. So give it a try and see if there's a really special angle to your work and your personal interests. Now, after this analysis of yourselves and who you are as an artist and what you stand for, the next thing would be to learn about the part of the music business that you want to operate in. There are many different local scenes and different musical environments. For example, let's say if you're a conductor somewhere in Australia or in Mexico, your next steps might be to broaden your reach in your national scene first, and then to expand to a different country. Maybe you already have a little bit of a profile, and the next steps would be to make yourselves interesting for the next target market within your professional reach. Within your professional reach, that has to be defined in every single situation. Often the different professional environments are not very interconnected. If you're mainly operating within a university environment, for example, it doesn't necessarily mean that people in the professional music business will know who you are. To make yourself interesting means that you have to know which aspects of your work might catch the attention in your target market. You have to create a hook which makes people who can book you take an interest in you or your work. Then you have to learn, for example, how decisions are taken, how conductors are being booked. In some professional institutions, there are artistic directors or music directors who take the decisions, but many also have programming committees made up mainly of musicians. Some conductors also come with a certain project or with a certain soloist. There are endless ways to get noticed, and you have to find out how these mechanisms in your environment work. Then you'll have to network with the people who can actually help you in your careers. Musicians, managers, other conductors, composers, and so on. You have to throw yourselves in the mix. Not everybody can give you a job, but everybody in the business will give you valuable insights into how all this works. I know that it's not easy for everyone to speak to people about themselves, but there is not just one way to do that. You have to find your own type of communication that feels natural for you and that allows you to be yourselves. Don't forget that you're a conductor and all you do is communicating when you're on stage. Just extend that beyond the podium and get in touch with the world around yourselves to let them know what you're doing, who you are, and what you are about. Part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast is that when I was young, I had no idea, and nobody ever talked to me about anything like this. You know, I was quite a bit over 30 when I finally felt I had a bit a better idea of how the music business works. And this is really essential because if you don't know what you're operating with, you have no chance of succeeding. So you must get as much information as you can about the business itself, but also about specific career development for conductors. If you're here listening to this podcast, you're already on the right track because every bit of information is useful. I'll try to address all these things nobody usually talks about. I'm sharing info mainly from a conductor's point of view, obviously, but hopefully in the future we will also talk about other aspects and with people from the music business in order to get as complete a picture as possible, how the music scene works for conductors. If you have questions and suggestions, let us know. But thanks for being here with us and listening to the Conducting Coaching Podcast. Now, the most important tool you have at your disposal is the internet. All of the music business is online. Agents are, and practically every institution and artist in the world. The internet wasn't around in my time. Names were mainly made with recordings, with being attached to other big names or with competitions and so on. But nowadays, you have at your disposal this medium which gives you more control over your own promotion and levels the playing field in certain aspects. You can like it or not, but the internet, social media, websites and so on are a fact. And you better learn how to use them for your professional goals, instead of sitting at home and waiting until the phone rings. When somebody first hears about you, the first thing most of them will do is to Google you. I do it all the time when I book soloists, conductors or projects. I check composers' new works, social profiles and so on, simply in order to get more information about somebody. So you must make sure, people who are interested in you see the right things straight away. Now, to know what should show up and what is really you is a consequence of everything we looked at before. What you are about as a conductor, what the interesting aspects of about you or your work are, and what your target people are looking for. The digital environment is very large. There are different types of social media oriented at different demographics and serving different purposes. There are websites, video and audio platforms, communities for artists and musicians, and many other media to consider. In order to use all of this effectively and to get the word out about yourselves, you need a digital strategy. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and so on, for example, will broaden your reach with a general public. Websites, videos, and mentions on reviews, institutional pages, and so on will speak to a more professional audience. The best idea is to combine various channels in the most effective way according to your specific goals. Digital strategy and how to use digital media is a subject for a few podcasts on their own. But here I'll just mention a few things that are important for every type of digital context when presenting yourselves and your work. Make sure your material is the highest quality possible, audio and video. People are used to seeing really good stuff, so make sure the documentation of your work or your promotional material really sounds and looks professional. Then, the best and most fundamental things about you must be easy to find. That means, for example, do search engine optimization in order for your personal website to be at the top of the search results when somebody Googles you, or to simply reduce search time for people who check you out. That they get to the most important stuff quickly and easily. Learn about the different media and how to use them effectively. TikTok is different from LinkedIn. You have to post different things and you target different people. So research this and use it most effectively. Then make digital part of your life. I have to say this to the people who didn't grow up in a digital environment. This is about your communication. And it's an extension of what you do as a conductor. So it gives you the chance to speak to more people and share what you love. Use it and make it part of your everyday working routine. Then get professional help. Digital channels change constantly. So make sure you have somebody who can help you to create professional contents and to use the channels in the most effective way. Communicate not just your work, but communicate yourselves. A conductor is not just a pair of hands or ears. People want you to inspire, to bring ideas and to take their institutions forward. So make sure you're documenting yourselves too. I know some people will look down on this and say this has really nothing to do with conducting. Or maybe they say like they're no good at social media and so on. But if you document your passions and you work in a good way, you don't just do yourselves a favor, but you work for the fact that people get in touch with more good music and more good projects. In the end, it's nothing else than what you do as a conductor. You connect people with music and you use your passion and your talent for communication to make that connection. The best is to treat your promotion like a job in itself. You can't really accuse the world around you not knowing who you are and what you do if you don't give them a chance to find out. So make sure you document your work. You get social proof, you make videos, you do the networking and so on. Maybe also get some professional help, people who know the music business or can help you out with social media and so on, just to make your communication as effective as possible. One last thing I would say though, this all takes time. Names are not made overnight and the classical music business is not the fastest. Networking, getting your name or your project around can take years, so you have to prepare yourselves for the long run. But meanwhile, try and enjoy the whole process and see it as a natural extension to what you do as a conductor. Now next week we'll talk about something related. We'll talk about conducting studies. courses, conservatoires, universities, and how to find the right places to study conducting. Until then, have a good week. And if you want to take part in the question and answer session about conducting careers, this Wednesday the 27th, sign up for the Conducting Coaching newsletter and get the Zoom link in your email inbox. Thanks for listening. To send us your comments or suggestions, please write us a message on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter to stay up to date with all the conducting coaching news and events.